Hearts aglow. How does it feel to be invited in as a soulmate and then told that it's not your cup of tea? I have souls on the line who are of soulmate visions, who are trying to work their way into my heart again as a soul who's created from fields of aplenty. Okay, these are those souls who say we honor those soulmates of ours who were here at one point in time and then left. And while they may have said, I love you for who you are or for what we created, is what we're really honoring with Brenda's heart. We often think that our hearts are asunder, right? Let no man put us asunder. There's some phrase that others are coming through, but in reality, it's more about the hearts and minds of those of us on this field who are saying, I'm wise beyond my years as a child. I didn't understand the nature of who we were as souls all creating together, but I had a feeling that there was more going on than what many were saying. This is the nature of the field of development for a lot of us, for most of us, to understand that while science and technology does have its boons and benefits, it's also limited in its expression of knowingness that many who are like me are trying to open that field up to more discovery of who we are from different planes of development. It doesn't mean it's demeaning the vision of those who are creating from that expression or those who honor it as the best of the best to be. Okay, Brenda already knows that the idea of I'm always ahead of the game when it comes to technology in a lot of areas means that in other areas I'm a little bit behind because I'm not focused so much on those who are boonful in the technology of who we are, rather than the expression of the love of what we are, right? Who we are and what we are very different, okay? So when someone says to Brenda, who are you? She will often say, I'm who I am in this moment, but it's flexible and it changes depending on my mood and my mind. I'm not here to tell you that I'm one thing or one experience of who I am when I come into this vision. So you see, while some will say that a channel is a more appropriate title for certain souls, others of us went the route of enlightenment from a plane of let me highlight myself in a way in which I attract more of who I am from other planes and fields of aplenty to help me see myself for the beauty that I am always, but also from the pain and perseverance that I chose to create with many others in different ways on different planes. And that is a boon for those who say I didn't have to experience so much of the pain because I was lucky in the ways in which I created, where most were supportive of who I am or was, depending on if they're still vibrating in the beauty of who I am in this moment. And that is where I am. So when I go through that field of love, it means that my own soul is validating every experience of everyone who has ever walked this plane and many others. But we will acknowledge that there are some planes that are not pleasant for many. And those visions are not about hell realms or any such name. It's a vibrational frequency that most people have never even touched in their minds, much less their hearts. Okay? And so those who are saying Brenda has touched the soul who worships Satan has a vision of what that must have been like, correct? It was not the pleasant experience I thought it was going to be, is what some would say. Others are looking forward to that expression because they honor it as a valued expression for who they think they are. But in reality, it's more of a universal vision of love that she operates from. Because in her honor, she was never in the vibration of anyone else's books of soul and evil and devil. She was more like, I express people in the way in which it feels right for me, and those visions don't feel right for me. I would never want to put that label upon anyone else's heart, much less their minds. That's the seriousness of my soul. When I say I wouldn't do that to the children of this plane, much less the adults, even though I can understand why, from a soul level, some need that vision for others to release their own pain upon. and to get it out. And Brenda herself has some owning up to the expressed rage she has felt at certain times in this vision with those who place those visions upon her, because it is not the place for you to be. She honors you and she says you really don't want to be creating from that idea that you're placing people in those realms of whatever you call pain and hell and whatnot. Because in all reality, we're working out the issues here on this plane. The afterlife is where many think they're just going to sail by and forget everything and anyone that ever hurt them. And that's not exactly what happens, but it's not the same as what the religious pretend it to be either for many. Okay, because they are saying it was just a moment of reflection for them, and they let go of the pain and the disruption from their own value system, and they could see a better way to create for themselves that doesn't align them with some negativity that is always being perpetrated upon the hearts of many others. Okay, we are more about how can we free ourselves from the limitations that allowed for others to tread upon us. That's another vision. Okay, I was limited in my expression, so I let someone hurt me. That's where I was as a child. I didn't tell others until much later. So those visions are of the pain and struggle that I went through on my own to deal with the issues of pain, of recovery, of who I was, which was ecstatic in nature in my mind at certain times, but limited in my pleasure. This is where I also walk sometimes. I have moments of ecstasy, moments of bliss, moments of recovery of who I am. It's a process of the devil, is what some would say, because they feel like that is their vision of it, rather than the understanding that most people don't actually buy into that in the year 2020, right? It's starting to work its way out very fast online. And many will start to understand why Brenda is saying that. Jimmy Carter was her heart and soul, and he is even in the vision of, I never told anyone they were of the devil, but I felt the vision was very much of it, in that idea that I needed to release others from their pain of the redemption moment that she placed them in. This is what Brenda has done. She has put people in the defensive on this plane in some ways in their minds. If they can't see themselves as beautiful with that vision, where do they place themselves? In the hearts and minds of another, right? That's where a lot of people are. They're like, I'm going to aim for a saint, or I'm going to aim for a soul who claimed to take away the pain of all of my life for me. And we are aware of that vision is null and void for the most part. It is not about taking away of any pain. Your soul can bring you the beauty of it and the wisdom, and that's what it usually is. So when you're in pain of recovery, you ask your soul, can you give me the wisdom of this moment? And that's what that soul is doing for many others, giving others the, I am here to spread the wisdom that my own soul can see through and say, I love who I am for who I am, and I know you do too. You just aren't in the, you are not in the same wisdom that many think that you are. Okay, because once people see the wisdom in others, they will start to garner it for themselves. Okay, that's what many are saying is, I want that wisdom. And that's the beauty. If you embody the wisdom of another, you're going to start to embrace those views as beautiful. That's what Brenda has done with Jimmy Carter, in essence, as a vision of love for himself and his true being of love for himself. Now, what Brenda is talking about is not that it is at the expense of others, but in reality, he understands the nature of how I wasn't able to create beauty for every single soul upon this plane because I didn't have the authority to do so. So he placed that vision in a higher realm of love. Okay? Whereas Brenda is saying, I'll take on anybody who needs to have a helping hand in the vision of what is your soul granting you as wisdom. Okay, some of our experiences are not the most pleasant, and many of us are not in the field of vision of being able to change much. But many of us are actually in the field of, let me change my focus, or let me make a different choice to do something different. I'm still receiving the visions of my future. I'm still receiving the visions of what I am, which is loving and caring for the most part. But I have my issues of division that I'm still working through because it hurts me, even though I understand it, why people would place their vision upon another as more superior than their own soul, which is riding with them always. It's just that we are limited perhaps in certain circles who say that our bodies limit us from experiencing all that we are. That is a guaranteed fact. We cannot experience everything that we are. Otherwise, we would be, vibrating out of control, perhaps, or even in the vision of I have left this plane. Because that's usually what happens is you're now leaving this plane, and that means that your experiences are going to be relatively deep and complex when you cross over. That's where Jimmy was. He was like, this is a deep and complex discussion of the other side of the veil. Okay, he has his own vision of who he was and where he was when he crossed over. Now, he would say, my soul was ready. He kept telling himself, I'm ready. So he was ready to see his loved one. Now, Brenda is not using this as a jumping point for soul, but it was truly an honoring that she's done for his soul in so many ways, as he was. She says, I expect him to be very loving and caring for the most part, aside from his belief set, the set of beliefs that he created from. It would be an honoring of those beliefs that helped him endure the pain of recovery as well. And Brenda understands that vision very well, right? Our beliefs in ourselves, our families, our loved ones, that they're all going to honor, love, and cherish us for who we are, even when we cross over to the other side of the veil. What happens is the reality of what we've created and with who can also come bouncing back to us if we are in the vision of, I'm open to receiving the discovery of more of who I am. It's slow bits of wisdom that we receive for Brenda because she is more about making sure she's in the right place at the right time with the right moment. It's the right moment to do this vision. That's what she says. This is the right time to do the vision of Jimmy Carter because in essence, she's free of his soul's vision. She just is of honor of those who see him as a problem in our past versus those who cherish his soul for the wisdom that he brought to us. And not only his belief system, but his nature as well. It wasn't just because of a book. It was the nature of his character. His character is very much defined by who he was as a soul, his experiences, his love, his wisdom. And Brenda is also very much of his personality. It's very typical for her to bring that in, but in essence, he would deny it as anything more than a fluke that he decided to go into the presidency of who he was versus the life that he lived, which was well lived. And that's why Brenda is, I don't deny my life or my liberty or my pursuit of happiness. She's a go-getter. He says she'll gang up on souls that are trying to judge others as less than. And so when others say, they are telling people they're less than, or are they putting them in a place of hell in their minds just to soothe their own ideas or their ideologies? She goes to bat for them. I would do the same for you if you were getting picked on for believing in the afterlife or the nature of a Christ soul as having a relevant expression upon this plane. Okay? It's not exactly what people thought it was. Okay, this is the nature of the reality of the words coming through very strong for many. Okay, we don't have the actuality of his words word for word, but others who can channel that vibration can feel the vibration of the love of it and the wisdom of it. And it's granted to all of us if we choose to go that route. What happens is that many think that it's an aiming for it rather than a being in it. And so when you're in the vibration of a soul that loves who you are, you feel it. That's the heart's aglow. She feels it in her heart and her soul always. Her soul is very mindful of her victimhood that she was riding in of late with the nature of Jimmy. She is very kind and gentle, but she's emotional with him. So he's of inspiration for many of us who know him as someone who is labeled as preferences for a certain type of brain expression. Okay. And his heart goes aglow with that because she says it's a preference for it. It doesn't mean who he was or that his vision of his books were any less than anything that she's ever used. Correct? But in essence, he's saying, I see the problems within the vision that she portrays herself to be sometimes. And she's like, I'm working through the integrity of my own being because my public self and my private self are often at like a crossroads. I say I'm having an ethical dilemma. Do I reveal the truth to everyone or do I hold back for those who are ready to receive the wisdom of their own soul's vision? Those who are open to receive it will be feeling, it's like good and healthy within the vision of who I am. Others will say, well, you're not feeling good and healthy. I feel vibrationally strong. I feel vibrationally weak as well sometimes. And that means it's more about where I'm at with certain people rather than the expression of my whole being. Because when I go into that vision, I step into soul. I step into soul. I run away from fear sometimes. I'll be open and honest about that. But in essence, my soul vibrates with me and understands what I need. And sometimes it's a retooling of the fear that I do, and then I reinforce the fear of who I am from a place that's not as particularly quiet or withdrawn. I tend to be very animated in my expressions when I'm of love of self, and I'm more solemn right now because of the nature of what we're talking about. Okay, but for her witnessing of her soul is still strong, and sometimes it's those little things or those little nudges towards the love of self that we often need. And that's why people will start to see how when someone is saying, I'm giving you your soul vision, it means who you are in this moment, working your way forward through pain and luxuries where many are. Others are saying, is it luxury to do what you do? It can be, but it's also the nature of conundrums of soul. She finds herself with those conundrums depending on who she's creating with. And it's not that she can't see the beauty, it's just that she's working with individuals in many ways, but she also looks to the big picture of the whole world. And when she does that, she sees certain things that others aren't necessarily seeing, and she also knows certain things that are coming within this century and into the next. And that means that many people are going to be disillusioned with their wealth, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. She's not into degrading wealth for anybody, because why would we do that? It's not about saying let's tear everyone down who are wealthy. It's how can we all prosper in the beauty of who we are in various ways, and maybe make it easier for everybody else to have some better experiences for who they are, rather than the idea that we're all, chugging along trying to survive, right? Brenda's in the survival mode only in certain instances in her life. Okay, most of the time she's like, oh, I'm just kind of doing my thing. She makes things happen, but she's utilizing other souls to help her through it. Her own family tree, for instance, guides her to the wisdom of the grandmothers often, and she has heartbreak with those, because they say she lashed out at their hearts because of their religious beliefs, because it was coming back to her in the form of prayers for her. And she said, that makes me feel like you think that there's something wrong with me. When someone says, I'm praying for your soul, which that's not who they were just in the vision of praying for all of us, but she's had to deal with that in the past. And that's when someone says, oh, I'm praying for your soul, there's nothing wrong with me. Even if I'm going through a rough time, I don't ask for prayers, because I know I embody the strength and wisdom and guidance of who I am to get myself up out of anywhere or anything that troubles me. If I wanted to ask for help, I will ask for help. That's who I am. That's the strength. Now, usually that vision starts to come apart when she says, you'll see me struggle in certain episodes with my own emotions. My grandmothers are my heart. I miss them dearly. I didn't express the vision as much with one grandmother as I did with another. But the heartfelt emotions are there for her. And so this is why she says, for me, it's very hard to do those heart-to-heart discussions on the internet, with loved ones. And sometimes it's even hard for me with other souls who I don't even know, because I can feel the heart and the emotion of those souls who are coming through. Even if the vision is our relationship wasn't as strong as what I thought it was, but I know that the love is still there from a soul level. And that's what people want to hear. They want to hear that it's love. But Brenda is also of the idea that it's love for many, but some of us are in the sensitivity about what that word represented for us. And so we would say it's honoring of our hearts. She has the love for her family tree, guaranteed. There's no one on her tree that she would ever deny love for, ever, because it is so strong in all visions of her heart. What she says, though, is those who are outside of her tree sometimes, she's like, that was a painful moment, and they didn't look out for me. And so that was more of a, for those souls who need it, we can all say, I honored the vision of those who've come before me. Okay? That's the difference. For those who are looking to a source that says, you don't have to say those words, because if they come loaded with pain or whatnot based on different situations in your life, you can just say, I can honor the wisdom that I was granted going through that experience. I garnered the experiences of soul in a place that had me helping myself up out of the hell realm with a friend that was taking me there because of her own belief system. That's where that vision came from, by the way. And she's of honor of disgust for the vision, thinking that, like, those souls who are saying, we honor those who are creating still here, because that's where Brenda creates from. It's not just those who have already crossed over and received the guidance and the wisdom and have already elevated themselves to that nature of the love of all. It's those who are still here on the vibrational plane, playing the game of life and doing various things in their minds, trying to help others come to a conclusion or to a nature of how does this help our hearts aglow. When you go to the vision of I'm enlightening my soul, you will feel the vision of love in your heart, and her own friend is starting to feel that vision in her heart. She's reuniting with her soul from a plane of love of another source of vision. And so it's not that it's wrong, it's an actual beautiful vision. So that's why Brenda's not going to deny that to anybody, to say that that's your vision. What she is not here to do is to force her vision on anybody else or in any other way. She wants you to be you. She wants you to be you in whatever way that is. That's the authentic and loving. Others would say unloving. But that's what it feels like in some ways. Sometimes the things that I say or do can be unloving because I'm not in the highest vibration of soul that there ever was. I can guarantee you my soul's there with me, keeping me high enough that I don't fall to those realms of disgust that others are in. When they think about that idea about what the vibration that they're riding in versus the statement of intent or the words of love that they read and they embody, thinking it is something that will come to them at some point in the future. Okay, it's a future planting of seeds that many are doing, but they're aiming for it after the next life, perhaps, right? I'm going to go and then I'll experience the beauty, then I'll experience the wisdom, and then I'll experience. And that's the nature of those who are convicted in their beliefs, that we embody the vision and we produce from it here. But if they're doing that, then the vibration of force is not upon this plane to be inspiring. But you can inspire people through the vision of I'm forcing this on you. We do it all the time with the nature of our values and our beliefs and whatnot. But that's why Brenda is more in the idea of it's a more gentle process if you can just be the inspiring soul that you are in whatever way you are. And we want you all to feel that. And some are here to feel power as a god, right? And others are here to feel the victimhood of who they are for a long time. And then they can start to see the wisdom of letting go of it. And then others are here to revisit it and say, oh, okay, I have a better understanding. Brenda was like remembering that those days of victimhood far outnumber the days of me being a victim. And it's a different kind of expression. It means once we can see ourselves for players in that system or that wisdom, then we can see ourselves as those who can manipulate the forces of ill will. That's where Brenda is. She's like, let's see who is in the vision of ill will. Okay, what are the intentions that we are coming into this vision with? Am I here to help people, or am I here to tear people down because of their belief system? That's what others will say. I have my moments of the frustration with it as it is being played out in the political realm with certain souls. And if people want to deny that vision, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that it's not part of the beauty of the transition or the transitory state of being that I sometimes find myself in. And my soul can grant me the future, grant me the wisdom, and grant me the soul's vision of it. And they'll always receive the vision of love that their soul wants them to have, not who I am, not my soul's vision, but who they are. And that's a very unique position to come from, where I'm not trying to spread my wisdom to them directly. There's a process of doing this, and there is wisdom and guidance in everything and everybody. But there is also an alternate, like, vision and universe where others are coming in and saying, I love who I am despite my family's upbringing. That's a lot of kids, right? Those are a lot of kids. Despite my family's upbringing, I am now vibrating in the beauty of who I am as soul. Okay, so they're getting their own expressions from a different vibration, and that's all that it is. It doesn't mean that the family's being demeaned just because they're going about it in different ways. Okay, it's just that's what can happen when you vibrate in the vision of the collective or the vision of political ideologies a little much. I've had my moments of it. I also do the deconstructing of certain things. My specialty is showing people other perspectives that might allow them to see other points of view, and then realize that theirs is not the only one, and it's not the only one that serves everybody. Because that's what some people seem to think, is that their point of view is the one for everybody. And I can guarantee you it's not that way on the soul level as well. Okay? So align with whoever you want to align with. Okay, the workers of soul are here saying, we hold back on Brenda's fire and passion because she knows how to handle the vision of those who want to create ill will for humanity. She's had to work with that in her mind, with those who created that vision that this is for the betterment of humanity, thinking that it's going to somehow solve the problem, when what it does is it creates the wars. I have to work with the war within in my own mind, pull myself back and say, let me go find a peaceful vision to focus on, which is my own dignity, honesty, and integrity of my own soul. That's who I am. And that's what I wish for you, for all of you, to find that inner wisdom, that inner guidance, and that inner soul that is telling you, yes, this feels right for me in this moment, whatever it is. You know, what feels right for me in this moment? What feels right for me in my heart? Okay, because we're utilizing our minds. Brenda gets the feeling in her heart when her soul says, yes, this is a loving moment for all of us. Or for her and her soul, because she has soulmates on the line as well. So, with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and as always, remember, stay curious, wise, and soulful. Have a wonderful day.